อาจารย์หนูเข้ากับเพื่อนนะหนูนั่งอยู่กับเพื่อนจะได้ไม่เปลืองเน็ตหนู
หนูไม่มีเพื่อนค่ะเขาไม่ใช่เพื่อนหนู
Hello. Good to see you again. All right. Okay, if you guys can hear me, then let's continue from where we left off. Okay. All right. So yesterday we were here. So just looking at an example of an argument essay questions. Okay. So we rate the questions, we analyze it, and when we analyze it, we understand what's going on here. We understand the relationship between all these variables. Okay, we understand that there is a problem of high-level cigarette addiction, and we know that it was uncensored advertising of cigarette that the question is believed to be the cause of this problem. And we also know that but by banning cigarette advertising, it is believed that the high level of addiction can be reduced. And that is all from the question, right? From the statement. Okay. Now, next week, we did some brainstorming. Okay. And when we did brainstorming, we basically asked questions using all the WH. Okay. Right. So when we asked this question, how could uncensored advertising of cigarette cause high level of cigarette addiction? Here was our answer. Right. Why? Because it could arouse young people's curiosity. Okay. And then we asked the next question, how can the level of cigarette addiction among young people be reduced by banning cigarette advertising? And we have this as an answer. Okay. So we say that if we ban cigarette advertising, then we will reduce exposure. Right. We reduce their exposure to active smoking. So they're going to be seeing people smoking less on television and social media and whatnot. Okay. And the next question that we should be able to answer if we really want to take side with we want to take sides with banning cigarette ads to reduce the addiction, then we should know what will be other benefits, right? If we decide to ban cigarette advertising. Okay, so all the three questions are very important that we know the answer to. Because if we don't know any answer to any of these questions, then we can't really agree, can we? Okay, now moving on to objection. Okay, moving on to objection. The first question that we ask ourselves, if we're going to disagree, is that why cigarette advertising not the cause of nicotine addiction? So why do you think cigarette advertising may not be the reason for smoking at all? Do you guys have any idea? If you do have any idea, you can open your microphone and speak up. If you're too shy to speak up, you can send a direct message to me. Okay. I will keep monitoring Zoom for any message that you guys send to me. Okay. But it will be easier for you to just, open your microphone and speak up. You can speak to me in any language. Right. I speak English to you guys because I was told that you prefer this language to Thai language. In fact, what I was told is that you guys have difficulty when I switch from one language to another. Like you guys cannot adjust yourself. Okay, so we have to fix one language. Like we need to have a language by default, and it was English was chosen as a default language, and that's why you guys are listening to me speaking to you in English. Okay, so why is cigarette advertising not the cause of nicotine addiction? Well, if you look at countries like maybe Thailand and New Zealand, perhaps, it's the banning of cigarette advertising is already in place. Right, it's already in place. No advertising of cigarette is allowed. That's why everywhere we go in our country, in Thailand, right, we will not see any billboard that say, hey, try this brand of cigarette, it's really good, it's on sales right now. We're not going to see that because it's already banned. Okay, but does that mean we don't see any young smokers at all? No, we do see young smokers. Yeah, if you look carefully enough, you will see. Right. Over here in New Zealand as well. But in New Zealand, I think they're doing a pretty good job, to keep, people from smoking. All they do is they mark up the price of cigarette. Cigarettes in New Zealand are very expensive. A small pack can cost around $40. How much is $40 in our Thai currency? That is about 800 baht per packet, per one small pack. Not talking about a carton, right? I'm talking about one small pack of cigarette. That's 800 baht. That is very, very expensive. Right, that's more than 10 times as expensive as the cigarette sold in Bangkok. And it is sort of seems to work because everywhere you go, you don't see young people with cigarettes anymore. They don't smoke. But vaping is common here in New Zealand because it's a cheap alternative. So I don't know what's going on here. Maybe the government decide that vaping is probably a healthier choice than cigarettes, maybe. But vaping is what is somewhat affordable. It's not that expensive. But cigarettes, my God, is really, really crazy. Okay, so why is cigarette advertising the cause of nicotine addiction? So what I think we can say here is because there are still young smokers, right, in countries where cigarette advertising is already banned. Because there are, I think I'm missing the R. There are still young smokers in countries where sometimes your hands and your mouth sort of doesn't coordinate, where cigarette I think it's already banned. Okay. What are the actual causes of nicotine addiction among young people? Could be many, right? Okay, but I mean, if you sort of look at the technique that we use to generate idea for the causes of nicotine addiction, you will see that you can, sort of go backtrack. Okay, so think about it. Before you become addicted, you have to do what? You need to have repeated smoking, right? You can't just do it one time and become addicted. It takes, repetition. So repeated smoking, right? And before you can repeat smoking, you must have access, right? You must have access to smoking. Sorry, you must have access to cigarettes. So you must be able to buy it, right? Now, before you want to go and purchase a pack of cigarettes, you must want to smoke, don't you? So we call that desire. Okay? So any of this could be, you can sort of think of this as door, like, so this is like a door. How do I draw a door? Here, door. Okay. This is another door. This is another door. Okay. And this door is sort of okay. So this door, once you open this door, you get access to this room. Okay. And when you open the other door, you get access to the other room. Okay. And this is the last door that you have to open in order to really become, addicted. So it's kind of like an end condition, right? When all these doors are open, then you become addicted. Okay, so it start off with desire, right? You must want to smoke. Okay? Now, what do you think could be considered a desire to smoke cigarette? Well, there could be many. One of them could be peer pressure. So peer pressure is when young people observe that all their friends. Did someone here just open the microphone by mistake? Because I can kind of hear my voice over there. But you are not actually talking to me. So if you don't mind, just switch it off. So yeah, perfect. But if you open your microphone to talk to me, that's fine. Okay, but if it was a mistake, then just turn it off. Okay, so peer pressure could really, cause someone to really want to smoke. Why is that? What was peer pressure here? So peer pressure is when, young people look at all their friends, okay, to gain acceptance. Okay, so it's so if all their friends are smokers, so imagine if you very young, right, and all your friends are smokers, then you can't help but you know join the smoking team of yours because you just want to be part of your team, right? Okay, that's that peer pressure. So basically, you want to you know um, adopt the habit that the majority of your peer groups have, right? You adopt that habit just to blend in. So that's peer pressure. But peer pressure doesn't have to be viewed in negative light all the time. You know, sometimes peer pressure can be positive as well. Like if you're among friends, if you are among friends who like to study, who like to prepare for tests, who like to study for exam, then you feel the pressure to do the same thing. You know what I mean? Okay. So desire is one. What could give someone desire to smoke? Um, well, that could be something to do with um, solution to personal issues. Okay, so basically, someone think that smoking can address their personal issues. What are some examples of personal issues that can be addressed by cigarettes? Stress relief. As a student, it cannot be denied that every once in a while you will encounter a stressful situation, right? Okay, like exam period, when you have to cram everything up, study for a lot of papers, okay, or when you uh, when you fail, when your relationship fail, between you and your significant others, your boyfriend, girlfriend, and you're under a lot of depression, you feel sad, so some people just turn to cigarette to calm the nerve, to relieve the stress, to lift the mood. But while that is true, it is not suggested or recommended because as you know, smoking has long terms, health risk. It might be able to lift your mood just for a little bit, but it will damage you, right? It will damage your health. And with bad health, you are not going to be able to do like anything. Yeah. So um so solutions to personal issues would be one reason why, people want to start smoking. What else could lead to desire to smoke? Let's think about. It could be misconception, maybe. So misconception is when you think that something is good when actually it is not, right? It's misconception. For example, when you see a characters in the movie and say that characters smoke, and you like the characters very much, okay, then you adopt the smoking habit because you think it's a cool thing to do. So that's it's a wrong value, right? You shouldn't be adopting this value. You shouldn't be looking at cigarette as something cool. Okay, so that's the misconception. All right, so all these three could lead to desire to smoke. Okay, now you want to smoke when you have any of these three. Okay, if your friend smoke and you want to smoke to blend in, that count as desire. Or you have stress issue or even weight issue. Some people literally smoke to curb their appetite, so they will feel they eat less. Okay, and when they eat less, they hope that they will lose weight. Okay, and misconception is simply just thinking that smoking is cool, is you know so all these three could lead to desire. Next is access. So how do we open this door? Right, this door is right now locked. Yeah, if you can't open this door, it will not lead us to smoking. So to open this door, you must have access to cigarettes. So why is it easy to buy cigarette? So maybe there's no control, right? There's no control, no regulation. That's a broad term, isn't it? So if you break it down, this could be that cigarettes are very cheap. Okay, cigarettes are cheap, it's easy to buy. Second, it could be readily available, easy to find. Everywhere you go, you will find a pack of cigarettes, being sold. So cigarettes are cheap. They're everywhere, and perhaps it doesn't matter how old you are, right? As long as you have money, you can buy. Which means there's no age restriction. Okay. So all this just contribute to access to cigarettes. Well, next is repeated smoking. Okay. So how could they smoke repeatedly? So say they have purchased a cigarette, but if they don't have a place to smoke, right? If everyone is, watching them, then you make it hard for them to light up and to smoke, right? So they have no other place to smoke but their own bedroom. In which case, if their parents find out, they'll be in trouble. Okay. So the reason they can, develop this habit of smoking is because no one is watching, or even when someone's see them, they're not going to be reported, or they're not going to be punished. Okay, so there is lack of monitoring and punishment. So there's no one to keep an eye on them. Okay, and they're not going to receive any punishment, even when they are found smoking. Okay, so all of this, all of this could be considered factors of nicotine addiction, right? Okay, so if I go back to this question, then I can say the actual causes of nicotine addiction include personal issue, misconception, peer pressure, lack of regulation, and lack of monitoring and punishment. Okay. So when one of this is there, that means there's chance that some teenagers will develop the nicotine addiction. Next is, why is the proposed solution not a good idea? So the proposed solution is to ban cigarette advertising to lower the level of addiction. So why is it not a good idea? Okay, it would be a good idea if they conduct this survey, right? If you look at the survey here, they conduct a survey and they found that 20% of 12-year-old in some school start smoking, 17% smoke. Okay, it would be better if banning cigarette act would be perfect solution if they ask every single one who smoke why did you guys want to smoke in the first place, and they'll answer, because we saw cigarette advertising on television or on social media. If they actually said that, if all of them said that, then it is clear that it is none other than cigarette advertisement that should be blamed for this problem, and we should get rid of it. Right? But it is not very likely, right? It is not very likely, isn't it, that every single smoker will smoke for the same reasons, particularly because they have seen cigarette advertising. It's not very likely, right? Okay, so the proposed solution is not a good idea because in terms of effectiveness, cigarette advertising may not even be the cause of addiction. Okay? In fact, it could be true, curiosity, right? Remember curiosity? If you have curiosity, then you might want to give it a try. So cigarette advertising could be, along with peer pressure, misconception, and solution, a reason for smoking. Yep. So in that, it's just one of so many other reasons that leads to the development of nicotine addiction. All right. So I would say because it may not be the first reason why young people want to smoke. Not the first reason. Okay, so in terms of effectiveness, even though you ban, it's not going to make any difference because they didn't start off smoking. Looking at cigarettes in the first place. They didn't have to see cigarette ads to want to smoke. Okay? But in terms of efficiency, well, we don't even have to bother thinking about efficiency, don't we? Because it's not already effective in the first place, right? Efficiency is about is consideration of resources that you have to use to make something happen, like money and time, right? So you take into account how long it will take for you to achieve your goal, or how much money you have to spend to achieve your goal when the solutions is effective. If the solution is not effective, you don't bother thinking about how long or how much money is required to make the goals come true. Okay. So if banning ad is not going to make any difference, then what should be our better solutions? Okay, so if you look at some of our ideas that we, came up with earlier about the causes of addiction, now we see that, there are four things that will lead to desire to smoke. All right. If you can stop that from happening, then we don't even have to bother about controlling the availability, or controlling the purchase of cigarettes, because no one want to smoke it in the first place, right? No one. Okay, so how do you think what do you think we should do, to, keep young people from being from developing the desire to smoke? Starting with peer pressure. In real life, this is kind of hard, isn't it? Because those young people who smoke, they must do it for some other reasons already, like misconception, a solution to personal issue. Okay, but theoretically, to deal with peer pressure is to use parental guidance. Okay, so parents have to guide their children about who to make friends with, okay? Or if you can't like run away from being in a group of friends who smoke, then you have to know that it is okay not to do what they do, right? It doesn't mean that just because your friends smoke, you have to do the same thing, okay? You can be the only person who is a non-smoker as long as you contribute to your social group, okay? For example, like I'm here in New Zealand, right? And you guys probably know that I'm here for another qualification in engineering. And guess what? All my classmates are smokers, and all my classmates are of different ages. They're people from the age of 20 all the way to 45. Right? The oldest students that we have in our class is probably about 45. I think 45 is the oldest. Okay, because in this country, everyone, regardless of age, is welcome to education. So sometimes it's quite weird even for me to see um, old people attending session like us. Well, I'm old too, but I just don't expect that this kind of thing is going to be very common here. Anyway, so I'm among my other friends who smoke. I don't smoke, and I don't feel like an odd one out. I don't feel different. Why? Because I can still contribute to my social group in different ways. So I just help them with their learning, okay? Because I probably have more experience than they do, so I can help them with um, their assignments, for example, help them to understand the course materials, and they appreciate it, okay? And they don't have to look at me as a stranger because I don't smoke. In fact, when I show up and imagine everyone is outdoor smoking, but the moment I show up, they just you know they just stop smoking right away. Right? Okay. They put out the cigarettes the moment I show up. So that happens a few times. So you can choose either to be product of the environment, right? You can be the product of the environment, or you can turn your environment into your product. If you're a product of the environment, then you have to do what they do. You can't lead them, okay? But if you turn your environment, in this case, my friends, into your product, so that means you can sort of control them, you can control their behavior. Right? So every time I show up, people just light out the cigarettes, or they just turn away from me. Yeah. Okay. So better solution, one could be parental guidance. Next is education, I think. Okay. So why is it that some people choose cigarettes as a way to address their stress issue or weight issues? Because they don't know that there's a better way, right? They don't know that better ways exist, right? If they know, they wouldn't, go down this this path. Okay, so to get them to know that there are better ways to deal with their personal issue is through education. So someone has to go and tell them that, hey, smoking is not really a way out of your stress issue. Smoking is not a way out of your weight problems, right? There are many better ways, more effective way to deal with your stress. Okay, there are also several other way, better way to deal with your weight issues. Okay, so education is definitely going to, stop people from wanting to smoke. Right. Now, moving on to access. How do you prevent access to cigarettes? Then you need to have some sort of regulation in place, don't you? Okay. What would that be? So you can have age restriction, for example. Cigarettes will not be sold to people under 18 years of age. That's one way to do it. You can have price control. So when a pack of cigarettes is so expensive right here in New Zealand, young people, they're not earning the living yet. They're not making money. Even when they do, the money they make is so small, right? The wage in New Zealand is only what, $23 an hour, right? So, they have to work, what, 2 hours just to buy a pack of cigarettes. Is that worth it? Probably not. Okay. So price control is another thing. What else can be done? Age control, price control. And you can also availability control. So it's not going to be so easy to find, right? Cigarettes are sold at only, certain places. Apparently not anywhere near school, right? Okay. Next is how do we stop, young people from smoking? Say they already have desire and they already have access, right? So we should set up a monitoring and punishment. So someone has to keep an eye on young smokers. Someone has to do patrol, like look around. Okay. And when you see, young people congregating, smoking, then someone has to come over and conduct some investigation. Okay. If they're guilty as charged, then it's going to be some form of punishment. Okay. All right, that will probably deter them from repeating the offense, from smoking over again. Right. Okay, so far I think we have come up with some very interesting ideas to write our essay already. Okay, but there are a few more, ideas that we can generate just to raise the awareness of the readers. Okay, because if the readers don't think that this issue is really important, then they're not going to bother um, trying to understand what are the actual causes of the nicotine addiction problem and what are the better solutions. Okay, so we somehow have to make nicotine addiction a very pricing issue, a very important issue to be resolved. Okay, so we can do that by talking about negative consequences of nicotine addiction. So what will happen? I mean, what sort of damage will smoking do to us, particularly young people? Okay, so if you think of damage in terms of health, okay, what do you think smoking can do to our health? Wasn't it cause some disease, right? Isn't it cause some disease? Isn't I think one of the diseases that stem from repeated smoking is emphysema. You guys heard of emphysema? It's a disease that affects your lungs. Okay. And speaking about the lungs, in worst case, you could have lung cancer. That's not what you want. Okay. What else could result from long-term smoking? Well, you could have bronchitis. Okay. And some studies also show that long-term smoking could lead to erectile dysfunction. Okay. All right. So these are health issues that are associated with smoking. But if the majority of young people have all this, diseases, then we will not going to have, healthy populations doing, right? We're not going to have, healthy population for future workforce. So that's not good. Now, what do you think could be other negative consequences that result from smoking? Well, in terms of financial, right? Finance, okay? Cigarettes are considered what? Non-essential expenditures, right? Okay, so if you have a large proportion of non-essential expenditure, well, if you have high income, that's not going to be an issue, right? Say you make $100 a month, okay, and your non-essential expenditure is 10%, so $10 a month, no problem, okay. Or if you make $1 million a month, and your non-essential expenditure is what, 10%, it's not going to be an issue, right? Because it's just $100,000 a month, right? Won't be a problem, okay? But you don't want to have 100,000 a non-essential expenditure when you only make like $200,000 a month, because that is more than 10% already. That's 50%. Okay, so some people they don't they don't watch their non-essential expenditures. So the essential expenses keep building up. All right, and they don't realize that sometimes it's more than half of what they make. Okay, more than half of what they make. So they won't have enough money to spend on other essential things like their rent, their medical care, their utility, and everything else. And when they don't have enough money to pay for things that are supposed to be paid, then they have to borrow people's money, right? And they become in debt. That's not good. So in terms of finance, addiction to nicotine could increase the debt, because it's increased the non-essential expenses. Okay. Right. So that's so far what I can think of. You guys have your own idea, please share, okay? So I can say smoking gives rise to all kinds of diseases, such as emphysema, bronchitis, and lung cancer. Next, what is and what's not a form of cigarette advertising? Okay, what is and what's not a form? Okay, so we now in clarification, right? Basically getting your reader to be on the same page as you. So all those scary images that you find on cigarette package, those are not advertisements, right? Okay. So the scary images on cigarette package are not meant to be a form of advertisement. Okay, they are not meant to promote smoking. It's not like when you see, an image of someone with, lung cancer, and you want to adopt smoking. No, it should be deterring people, right? It should stop people from wanting to do that. Okay. What is nicotine and where it can be found? So nicotine, to the best of my knowledge, is an addictive substance. Right. Okay. If we go online, maybe we can ask ChatGPT just to find out more about nicotine. So if I go to ChatGPT, and I ask, okay, what is nicotine? Let's see the answer that you have for me. So it's a nicotine is found in tobacco plants and it acts as a stimulant in small doses and is primary addictive component in tobacco products. So it's an addictive substance. So when you're addicted to cigarette, you are actually addicted to nicotine that is in the tobacco, right? It also says that nicotine works by stimulating the release of neurotransmitter such as dopamine, which leads to the sensation of pleasure and reward. Okay, so nicotine is addictive because it stimulates our brain, our nerve sense, our neurotransmitter to release dopamine, which is some people call a happy hormone, a hormone of happiness. Okay, so when your body releases dopamine, you feel happy. All right, so that's the sense of pleasure. Right. Okay. So 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 that's basically it. So nicotine is an addictive substance found in cigarettes. Okay. All right. So we have quite a bit of ideas. Okay. So I think I'm gonna take a break from now. Right. We'll come back after 10 minutes and we're gonna be looking at chapter 2, where we do some outlining for the ideas that we have generated. Okay, I'll see you guys in 10 minutes. Okay. Okay, guys. So I'm going to take a look at our handout. Okay. So basically, I have cover all of this. Okay, listing and WH questions. Okay. So before we move on to our next chapter, we are going to go back to the very beginning and try to answer all of these questions. Okay, so the first statement, let's see if it's true or not. It says planning can help you to write faster. It's actually true. Planning will help you to write faster because it will save you time from making unnecessary changes. Right, it will save your time from thinking about what to write when you are actually writing it. That is true. Writing is all about expressing your ideas, and the audience has to make effort to understand you. This is not true at all, right? Writing is all about making it easy for your readers to understand. Okay, it's not about you, it's about them. Readers are like customers. Okay, you have to make them like your product, which in this case is your writing. Okay, number 3, technical terms and jargons can be used with non-expert audience. Unfortunately, no. You don't want to use technical terms or jargons because it will confuse them, right? And it will discourage them from, enjoying your writing. But if you really need to use some less common terms, you have no other choice but to explain that a little bit. Okay, but it's based just to avoid technical terms. If you're writing to someone who doesn't know as much as you do. Number 4, knowing your audience allows you to get a better feedback. Yes, definitely. Okay, and by knowing your audience, that means knowing what they're looking for, right? What do they care? What do they prioritize? Do they prioritize grammar over content or content over grammar, right? Do they prioritize referencing? Okay. Do they care about where your information comes from? Right. You need to know what your readers prioritize in order to satisfy them. Number 5, when answering a question, you need to pay attention to direction words. Absolutely. You need to pay attention to direction words. For example, if they ask you to contrast, that means you have to find differences, which means you need to think about transitional words like however, but, on the one hand, on the other hand, okay? But if they ask you to compare, then that means they want you to find similarities, all right? So words like likewise, or like, or similar, or the same as should be there, okay? If they ask you to agree, I mean, if they ask you whether you agree or disagree. Hang on a second. I just need to reply an important message. Okay. So if they ask whether you agree or disagree, right, then that means you need to, come up with not just, words like because, for example, but you also need to, have some good theory or principle that you can refer to, okay, to back up your claim. Next, direction words allow you to stay on point. Definitely. Okay. Direction words tell you exactly what you need to do. So you don't have to think about, what should I be adding to my writing? Yeah. If I say, oh, please write about traffic congestion, it's quite broad, isn't it? What should you write? Should you write about the history of traffic congestion? What are the causes of it? What are the solutions? What are the negative consequences of traffic congestion? There's so many to write about, isn't it? But if I make it clear, hey, can you just talk about, negative consequences of traffic jam and how we can prevent them? So that's easy, right? You know exactly what you need to do and what sort of questions you should be asking ChatGPT to help you to generate ideas, right? Next, free writing doesn't need to be timed. Now, free writing is a brainstorming technique that actually uses time to put pressure on you, right? So unfortunately, no, it has to be timed because that's what we want, right? We want pressure to stimulate us to think, okay, to squeeze out things that we learned a long time ago, but have already been forgotten. Number 8, you have to constantly check your ideas when doing free writing. Actually, no, you don't check any idea. You do it after the time is over. Number 9, asking yourself questions will help you to better anticipate your audience. That is actually true. And that is what you should do whenever you are going to explain something to someone. When someone needs explanation, that means he has a lot of doubts. He has a lot of questions. All right? Now, when a student approach me, when they say, Nat, I don't understand this, Nat, I don't understand that, they themselves don't even know what they don't understand, right? There may be a lot of questions as to how does that work? What is the logic behind? Is there any example? Are there better solutions to this? Okay, why is this? Why is that? Okay, so you need to do the work of asking questions. When someone doesn't understand something, okay, you have to do all the work of asking the right questions. Okay, and then you have to answer all of those questions and put all those answers together, organize them, and deliver them to your audience, in this case, my student. Okay? Last one, planning is only a classroom practice. Well, no, planning is not just a classroom practice. Planning is important in every aspect of your life. If you don't want to waste your time, if you don't want to waste your money, if you don't want anything to fail, then you always should plan, because plan will help you to see your path more clearly, right? Okay, if you're going somewhere, you can think of planning as when you are going somewhere and you don't check Google Map, or when you don't read a map in general, right? If you just have to keep looking at the signs, okay? It's very stressful, isn't it? If you're going somewhere and you don't know where it is, what route to take. You can't just keep looking at the signs, right? Because chances are that you might get lost and you never get to your destination. Yeah? But if you plan your journey, you know where to turn, which highway to take, right? When to turn left, when to turn right. Okay. Okay. So if you know your entire journey, then you don't always have to look for the signs. Okay. You just have to know a specific sign to look at to signal you a turn. Okay. So that's it. That's all for chapter 1. Okay, now moving on to chapter 2. I'm going to just stop my screen sharing for a moment. Hang on. What is going on? Suggestion, favorite, drop lines. This is annoying. Hang on with me for a second. Just trying to open my file. Oh, there it is. It has already been sent to me. All right, now back to screen sharing. Okay, welcome to chapter 2. So chapter 2 will be about, so we're going to dive into the structure of an essay. Okay, so we're going to be looking at what exactly is main idea, what is, thesis statement, what is a topic sentence, what does a body paragraph consist of, okay, why we need body paragraph at all, what are the different, ways of organizing a paragraph, okay? All right, and then we're going to be looking at outlining of your essay, where we will go back to our generated ideas, okay? So we're not going to forget all of this, okay? We will revisit this brainstorming ideas later on in chapter 2, okay? When we do outlining, okay? So don't forget about this just yet. We will definitely come back, okay? But for now, we're going to answer all these 8 questions. So just to check your understanding before we do the lesson. Thesis is just a paraphrase of the topic. Is it true that thesis is just a paraphrase? Well, first of all, what is thesis, right? So if you guys are not sure, that's okay. You can leave it blank. Number 2, it is important to narrow down focus topic. Yep. Do you think it's true or not? Number 3, you can answer questions out of your focus topic to form a thesis. Yep. So I understand that some of the questions are quite technical. So if you don't understand, that's fine. Okay. You just need to pay attention. Number 4, the thesis is your, I think that's a typo here, is your answer to the question. Number 5, you can use phrases in your thesis. Number 6, an outlining will prevent you from going off topic. Okay. Number 7, you need formal outlining for every kind of writing. And number 8, a good thesis should not be too broad, too narrow, too unreasonable, or too underdeveloped. Okay, if you guys are done, let's move on to the next page. Okay, so developing a thesis. So first of all, what on earth is thesis? Okay, now please don't confuse thesis with dissertation, which is a very advanced writing that you do for a graduate program, like master program. Okay, dissertation is an advanced piece of writing, as it's is all about dissertation is like a study project. Okay, so you need to know what area you want to conduct your study, and you need to be able to come up with a research questions. Okay, a good one. Okay, so once you have your research questions, that means you have review all the literature, and none of the literature answer your question. That's why your question is now valid, right? To conduct research. Okay, and in your dissertation, you will have about 5 to 6 sections. The first section is going to be introduction. So basically, you are writing, reasons why you want to conduct this study. What do you hope to discover in this study? Okay, and what sort of questions you try to answer? How you will answer those questions? What will be your methodology? Okay, and then the next section is usually your literature review. So basically, you can either ask question, your research question can be asked before reviewing your literature or after reviewing your literature, right? For example, if I just come up with a strange idea of using Coca-Cola, right, Coke, to water my plants in hope that it will increase the production of the fruit. Okay, I know it's a crazy idea, right? Say, I want to know if I can increase the production of the fruit just by using Coca-Cola to water my plants. Okay, so what am I going to do to answer this question? Do I have to conduct experiment? Not necessary. I can just review some studies that have already been conducted by other researchers. So I'm going to try to find out if anyone has tried this crazy idea, okay? And if they have tried, what's the result, right? Did they achieve the goal? Did they improve the speed? The production rate? Because if they have done it, then I don't have to do my experiment, okay? But if no one has, okay, then it might make sense to conduct your experiment. But you have to be able to explain to your peer researchers why you think Coca-Cola might improve the production rate of your fruit. Okay, that's when you need to have your technical knowledge. That's when you need to be able to convince your supervisors, or basically your supervisors, to actually not look at your idea as something ridiculous. Okay, so after literature review, you will have a section called methodology, where you explain the techniques, a method that you use to conduct your study, okay, and why this method is suitable for your particular study, okay. And next will be the people normally call it the finding section, what you have discovered throughout your study, okay. And the next section will be the discussion of your results, okay. So basically, you'll be comparing your study with previous studies, okay, to see any if there are any similarity, any differences, discrepancies, something like that, okay. And your last section is a conclusion, okay, where you explain what these findings means, okay. For example, if I'm doing a study about the impact that social media influencers have on purchase decision of a customer, okay, and I conduct my study using survey, right, questionnaire, sorry, using questionnaires, right, to get inputs or data from participants, okay, then analyze all those data, okay, and the analyzed data will then become the result of my study, okay. And in conclusion, there we have to explain to my reader what these numbers mean. What does that imply? Okay, does this number imply that influencer actually do have significant impact on purchase decision? Okay, something like that. All right, and you can also use your last sessions to talk about limitation of your study, and you can recommend, what sort of further study that should be conducted, right, to really, bridge the gap of the knowledge. Okay, so that is dissertation, or some people call it thesis, okay, but that's not something that we're going to do. All right, okay. This is, in our case, is nothing but a main idea, okay? So this is just a main idea, right? This is just a main idea of your essay, okay? Right. So what's a main idea? Main idea could be anything from answer to a questions, right? If you are writing an essay to respond to some questions, right, your answer is your main idea, okay? But if you're responding to an assignment that doesn't really ask you questions, your main idea is then just your claim that need to be justified in order to be more convincing, okay? That's what main ideas means. All right, so we're going to look at an example here, okay? Suppose this is your assignment topic. It says, write a statement for your generation. Write a statement for your generation. So basically any important phenomenon, anything that happened in your time, okay? Like in my time, I was born in the 20th century, right? I was born in 1987. So there's many important events in our history, right? In the 20th century, we have Second World War, we have First World War, we have Cold War, we have globalization. There's a lot of things happen in the 20th century. It's a golden age. It's amazing. Okay, so says I choose to write about globalization. Okay, so globalization is basically a broad topic. Okay, what is globalization? Globalization, in a nutshell, is how people from different parts of the world um, have means to exchange ideas, have means to travel. Okay, so before globalization, okay, every country you can sort of think as a closed door. Okay, so no countries really communicate with each other, or even though they do, the communication is quite limited. Okay, right. So every country um, is quite, separate. Um, yeah, they like they're on their own. They mind their own business. Right before globalization, each countries around the world just mind their own business. Okay, they don't talk. It's kind of like you attend your first lecture and you don't know friend who sit next to you. You don't talk to them. The class was quiet because people don't know each other just yet. That's what happened before globalization. Okay. Okay. But then when we have means, for transportation, like we have cars, we have an airplane, all right? Cars, airplane, these are the 20th century invention. Okay. We have car, we have airplanes, we have telephones. Okay. We have what else? We probably didn't have internet just yet. Well, I mean, we did, but the internet was not, very fast, not like today. Okay, so all these things, telephone, um, you know, airplane, cars, these this allows, people to circulate around the continent. So for example, if you're in Europe and you live in, say, Germany, you can travel to Spain, to Italy quite easily because you have means for transportation. Okay. Now, when people can move from one place to another, they can spread the culture, right? They can spread their culture. They can, for example, if I go to Vietnam, okay, if a lot of us go to Vietnam, then Vietnamese people will learn our culture. They will be able to learn to speak our language, for example. So after globalizations, right, people start sort of adopting similar value, okay? Because America was probably one of the most powerful culture in the 20th century, okay? They have movies, right? They make movies. They make fast food chains that goes around the world, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, KFC, okay? These become commonplace in many countries, okay? Um, speaking of fashion, okay, wearing jeans, right? Jeans were made and in America, for the mine workers, okay? And the American culture, spread so fast, right, throughout the world, and the choice of wearing t-shirts and a jean just gained popularity during the globalization because you have to admit that American culture was very powerful back then. Okay, and so their cultures just spread out, and now everyone share similar value. Like a lot of people now um, start eating junk food. Okay, start drinking Coca-Cola, start wearing a t-shirt and a jeans when they go out. Okay, so these are effect of globalization. Okay, but if I want to write about globalization, right, globalization is something that affect every countries around the world. And I don't think I'll be able to write about the impact of globalization for every countries around the world. So I will need to narrow down my topic. So I can just focus on globalization in Thailand. Okay. So I can further say, okay, I'm going to talk about the impact of globalization on Thailand. Okay. So that is a little bit more clear. It's kind of like I'm drawing a border for what I'm going to write. Okay? Now I'm going to look at this and ask myself, hey, should I make more border? Should I make it more clear? Okay, so that people sort of have realistic expectation. So for the final touch, I would say impacts of globalization on Thailand's economy and culture. Well, globalization can have many impacts, right, on a country, right, on many aspects, right? Economy, culture, medical care, um, technology, many things, politics. They have so many impacts. Okay, but I choose to focus on just two things: economy and culture. Okay, so these are going to be the two areas where I want to focus, right, regarding impact of globalization on Thailand. Okay, so a sufficiently narrow topic, right? A sufficiently narrow topic is basically drawing a border of what you want to contain. Okay, you can sort of think about narrowing a focus topic as drawing. Before you color your drawing, you need to draw a shape, right? Suppose I want to color a rectangle. If I go ahead and color like this, okay, then I don't know for how long I have to do this coloring. Okay, I don't know how long, how much, right? But if you first draw a border, if you start off by drawing a border, so this is going to be the area where you use your color. It's going to be easy. So I know exactly how much I have to color. Okay, so I'm just going to color the edge first, and then the middle, like that. Okay, so having a narrow topic is having a borderline. Okay, and this will give your audience a realist what to expect. Okay, right. Next is turning your topic into a question. Okay, so with your topic, right? In this case, topic is globalization. It's just a noun, isn't it? One word. Okay, but a main idea is not a phrase. A main idea has to be a sentence. Okay, so how do we go from a noun, a broad topic, into a proper main idea? Okay, we have to turn this phrase, right, the impact of globalization on the economy, into a sentence. Now, some of you might think, hey, we can just make a sentence out of it, just add a finite verb to it. Yes, you can, right? But some people, they can't. All right. So how can we turn this phrase into a sentence? We can do so by first turning that into a question, or we can ask a question out of it. Here's an example, right? We can say, what are the impact of globalization on Thailand's economy? So basically, I have just turned my sufficiently narrow topic into a question. Okay? And my answer could be something like this. While globalization creates more job opportunity, it could lead to total loss of cultural identity. There we go. Okay? Now, when someone read this as the first line in my introduction, they know exactly what to look for. Okay? So this part here, the first sentence say globalization create more job opportunity. That just touched upon the economy, right? But the second part that say it could lead to the loss of cultural identity. This is just the impact on the culture, right? Culture, yeah. So my sufficiently narrow topic will be focusing on these two areas, culture and economy. Okay. Now the reader knows that as far as economy is concerned, globalization actually create more jobs. But as far as culture is concerned, it sort of have a negative impact because it could lead to the loss of cultural identity. Okay, so that's basically how you develop a main idea out of a broad topic. Okay, now what happens if you encounter an assignment that asks questions like this example here? It says television is a powerful medium. What do you think is the ideal place of television in our life and why? Explain. And how close is reality to that ideal? It's a long question, isn't it? It first gives you a general fact about television by saying that it is a powerful medium. Okay? But what it wants to know is what is what should be the purpose of watching television? Why we should watch television? How we should use it? Okay, right. And in reality, are we watching television for the right purpose or not? Okay, and so if you have an assignment that asks you questions like this, developing metadata is easy because it's just answer to the question without any details or examples. Okay, so an example of an answer to this question could be something like this. I think the ideal place of television is that it should be for information and entertainment, but that shouldn't be watched too much. So that answers the first part, right? So basically, he says we should watch television for entertainment and for some information, but don't do it too much, right? And then it says the reality is far from ideal because too many people spend too much time watching TV to the point that they don't communicate with each other or do things that they should be doing to be physically and emotionally healthy. So the reality is far from ideal. That means while it is true that we should not watch TV too much, that's the ideal, right? But in reality, people don't do that. People spend too much time sitting in front of television, okay, and let TV eat away the time that could be better off spent on something more productive. Okay, so that is the main idea. Okay, it might seem long, but it is not yet elaborated. It's not yet justified. Okay, so this is a main idea. Okay, now we're going to do one exercise here. All right, we're going to practice developing a thesis out of a broad topic. So the question here wants you to identify a factor that you believe will have an impact on tourism development. Okay, so all you have to do is think about one factor that will cause more people to come and visit your country. Okay, think about that factor. Now that factor, if it's taken care of, is going to promote tourism, right? This means it's going to increase the number of visitors. But if it's not taken good care of, right, then it's going to discourage people from coming to visit your country. Okay, so what are those factors, right? There may be many, but you only need to find one, okay? And write a thesis for it. So I'm gonna give you some time, all right? Maybe 3 minutes to think about, and then I will show you how this can be done. Okay, let's take a look at the broad topic, okay? So one factor that can have an impact on tourism development. Well, okay, so what is it that you think can impact tourism, right? I think I don't know, it could be political climate, could be like political stability, right? If a country has political stability, then it might promote tourism because people don't have to worry about their safety. Okay, imagine you have to visit a country during a civil war. I mean, look at countries like Ukraine. Ukraine is actually a beautiful country. very nice. Even I want to visit at some point, but well, under war, it's not a very good idea to visit Ukraine right now, right? Okay, because you might catch a bullet at some point, and it's not worth it. Okay, so political stability is what I think might be an important factor that influence tourism. What could be other factors that promote tourism? I think the the beautiful nature, right? Okay, if a country has a beautiful nature and is very well conserved, then that automatically become an attraction. Okay, so if people sort of take a good care of their own country, of the nature, that not littering or doing any activities that will result in environmental damage, then that by itself can promote tourism. Okay, what else? I think policies, could be another factor. A country policy could be a factor that promote tourism. Okay. Now, some countries, they excessively charge the visitors for everything from visa to admission fee, back in the day in Thailand, in my time when I was young, foreign visitors are paying different rate for everything, right? From food that they buy, from ticket, from admission fee, everything they're gonna pay more, and it is kind of unfair to them, right? If they are treated unfairly, they probably don't want to, come back to your country again. Okay. So this sort of, practice no longer exists, right? Okay, it's a fair play now because everyone is being charged the same price for product and services. Doesn't matter if they're foreigners or Thai nationals. So it's kind of fair. Okay, and that should promote tourism. Okay, what other factors could promote tourism? Developing attractions. Okay. So attractions could be man-made, or could just be the work of nature, right? Waterfall, beaches, those are work of nature. Okay, but we can also create our attractions, by doing some land development. Okay, or by building impressive structure. In many countries around the world, they are doing this. They're competing on building tall structures. Okay, I don't know what is the tallest statue that have been built today. I'm not sure. It could be back in the day. It used to be Statue of Liberty in New York, but today not anymore. Right? There are so many epic structures, particularly in India. I think. I mean, if you Google it, you might see that a lot of mega statues, many of them are being built in India. Right. Okay. So all these, man-made structures, they could become attractions. They could attract people to come and see, and take pictures. Okay. And then when they come to those places, they're going to be buying services, from vendors. Right. So I'm just gonna choose political stability. Okay, for now. So broad topic is political stability. Okay, so if I were to narrow down this factor, then I could say some things like I'm going to go ahead and ask a question, right? How does political stability influence the growth of tourist number? Okay, so I can say a country's maybe I say a destination with stable, with political stability okay, is more likely to maybe I'll just change from destination to a country. A country with political stability is more likely to be chosen as a travel destination. Okay. A country with political stability is more likely to be chosen as a travel destination. Okay. Yeah, it's more likely. 4. Foreign okay, so that would be my thesis or my main idea. Okay. So the answer to the question is right here. The question asks, what factor could influence the growth? And my answer is political stability. I could say things like political stability could influence the growth of tourism, right? But that would be repeating the same phrase, the same wording that has already been used in the questions. Okay, so you might not want to repeat the wording that have already been used in the question. Okay, right. So that's basically it. That's how you develop your main idea. Okay, so let's take another short break. Okay, let's take another short break, and then we'll go to we'll talk about outlining. Okay, which is one of the very skills that you should have. Okay, so outlining is part of the planning. Okay, so basically we're going to look at ideas that we have brainstormed, and we are going to organize them to form a list of points that will later on be used to develop an essay. Okay, so I'll see you again in 10 minutes. Okay, let's carry on. So, so let's read this a little bit, okay, just to get an idea of what outlining means. So it says that every essay has the same underlying structure, claim and support. And that is the essay asserts an idea, is this is, and then supports this is with specific examples, evidence, and details. And this claim support structure is then repeated throughout the essay on many levels, right? The ideas provide support for the thesis are claims themselves and therefore need support. The structure then looks something like this. Okay, so outlining, so first of all, we have to understand this point here very well, right? Claim and support. Remember when I talk about argument, okay? Argument is nothing but a process of justifying your claim, okay? So in order to have an argument, you need to have a claim. And once you have a claim, you need to have a justification, okay? And after your justification, your claim becomes your conclusion. Okay, so your claim here, right? When you're writing an essay, we don't really use the word claim anymore. We use the word thesis. Okay? So instead of claim, we call it thesis. Okay? And thesis is going to be your main idea. Okay. So first off, your essays look something like this. So you have a thesis, okay, which is the same as your main idea, okay, and then followed by a support, just like that. It could be 2 paragraphs, right? One for thesis and one for support. You can write an essay with just 2 paragraphs, but sometimes your support, come from different aspects. Okay, so you sort of have to break it down into, support 1, support 2. Okay, so you have to break it down. So that big support just become support 1. Support 1 and support 2. Support itself is just a claim. Okay? For example, if I say Susan is smart, my support 1, my thesis, right? Susan is smart. Support 1 could be Susan GPA was very high. Okay? So when I say Susan GPA was very high, this is just another claim to back up the previous claim, which suggests that Susan is smart. But the statement that says Susan has high GPA doesn't have enough weight to support the first statement. So you have to add some more weight to the support. Okay? How much it depends on you. Okay? So support by itself doesn't have a weight. So you have to add some more weight to it. So for support 1, you're going to have some minor support. Okay? You could have 1 minor support, you can have 2 minor support. It really depends on you. And in this minor support, if you think more weight should be added, then you just add more support to it. Okay? Right. Okay. Now, when you think, okay, Now, your support one should be heavy enough to, to back up your thesis. Then you can move on to support two and see if it has enough weight to it. Okay? If it doesn't have enough weight to it, then what could be your minor support? Right? What could be your minor support? Okay? If the minor support doesn't have enough weight, then what would be the support for each minor support? Okay, that's how essays work. It's all about adding more weight to the support. Okay, so main idea, this is the same thing. Support one, support two, that's just your major support. Okay, which has to be backed up by, minor support. Basically, that's how it works. So let's look at some real life example. Okay, I'm gonna go back here. Okay, so our previous question asked if we agree, whether we agree or disagree that the banning of cigarette advertising can reduce the percentage of young smokers. So first of all, we need to have our main idea, right? We need to answer that question. So when we explore our ideas here, okay, we can sort of see that if we choose to agree with the given with the proposed solution here, then these are the only ideas that we can use to develop in our essay. All right, which is actually okay if you also have a plan to extend each of these, supporting ideas, because you cannot just write an essay with 3 sentences, right? So each one of these will have to be extended further. Okay. However, if you choose to disagree, oops, this is how much you can write. I mean, in terms of comparisons, you can see a big difference, right? In terms of of content, between support and objection. If you support, this is how much you can write. But if you object, this is how much you can write. Okay, so from that perspective, it is obvious that it is more advantageous for you to just disagree with the proposed solution, because you have more to write. Okay, so in that case, my position will then be to disagree. Okay, but how am I going to develop my main idea if I disagree? Okay, so I can't just say I disagree. I can't. This is not good enough for a main idea. Okay, because you have to remember that when we write, we actually communicate to someone who doesn't need to see the whole thing, who doesn't need to see the question. So when a person comes to read your essay and they see the I disagree as the first line, then going to be confused. They're going to be like, what? What are you disagreeing about? Okay. So your main idea has to be clear, has to be self-explanatory. Okay. So what should be my main idea here? Well, based on what I have here, right? If you look at it, I have challenged their cause of addiction. I say, hey, advertising may not be necessary. It's not necessary that advertising is always the cause of the addiction, right? It is not, which means that, banning advertising is not going to be an effective solution. And I mean, if you look at the issue more carefully, then you see that there are actually several other actual causes of nicotine addiction, which means, we should be looking at alternative ways to deal with this issue. Okay, so my main idea will sound something like what I have to say, but it has to be a little more academic, right? Okay, now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to try to develop my main idea on my own, okay? And then I will use ChatGPT to sort of polish it a little bit, just to add some academic tone to it, okay? Well, back in the day, this option is not possible. That's why back in the day, people have to learn some useful academic phrases when they're doing the academic writing. Like I can show you a book that I find very useful. Actually, I use it to make to do a lot of academic writing and editing. So it's a book by, come on, whoops. How do I go to the first page? It will not allow me to go to the first page. So what is the point of this slider bar if it won't allow me to go to the first page? Oh God. Okay, beginning. Kindle version. Okay. Yes. So it won't let me see the cover page. Never mind. Okay, so this is the book that contains some useful academic phrases for academic writing. Okay, so it has everything from, let me just show you good parts here. Okay, so yeah. This is the part for writing an introduction, okay? Let's say you want to establish the importance of the topic, right? What are the phrases that you can use? So these are the phrases you can use. X was one of the most popular during blah blah blah. Recent years have seen renewed interest in blah blah blah. Okay, so these are like templates, right? These are very useful academic phrases. All right, it's going to add academic tone to your writing. So back in the day, this book is very, very useful. I mean, I can't live without this, okay? But today, we have ChatGPT, and it can do far better job than you, okay? I mean, you can use this, okay? Or you can even use, in fact, you can, take advantage of some of the phrase here, okay? So you can, first off, like develop your own sentence using some of the phrases, and then you can send it into ChatGPT for paraphrasing. Okay, so by doing that, the end result is going to be much, much more advanced. Okay, and ChatGPT can also correct grammatical errors. Now, sometimes they use this phrase. Okay, you might make mistake when you fill in the gap or when you substitute the variables. Okay, so it could be basic errors like singular, plural, count and count now, misuse of article a and the, something like that. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, I'm going to develop my own main idea, and I will use ChatGPT to sort of add some more academic tone to it. Okay, so my main idea is going to be some things like Banning. Start off by using this very, very common signpost word, right? In my opinion, banning. Advertising of cigarettes. Is not going to be an effective it's not going to be an effective solutions. Since young people could develop nicotine addiction due to several other factors besides their exposure to cigarette advertisement. I don't know, but this already sounds formal. Okay. Well, let's just try to make it sound less formal, all right, so that you can see a clear difference. Okay. So let me sort of try to simplify this a little bit, make it sound less formal. So instead of using in my opinion, say I think we are not going to see any difference just by banning cigarettes apps, because young people don't need to see ads to smoke. They could smoke for so many other reasons. So it's better to come up with some solutions that are more effective than banning cigarettes ads. Okay, now this sounds quite informal. Okay, all right. This sounds a little more formal than that. Okay, so we're going to ask ChatGPT to adjust the tone of this a little bit to make it sound more formal. Okay, so let's see what ChatGPT will have to say. Okay, so I'm going to say, please make this sound more academic. Okay, so what did I say earlier? What did I write earlier? I say, I think we're not going to see any difference just by banning cigarette ads. I don't think we are going to see any difference just by banning cigarette ads because what? Because young people don't need to see ads to smoke. Young people don't need to see, cigarette ads to smoke. Okay. And what else did I say? They could smoke for so many other reasons, so it's better to come up with some solution that are more effective than banning cigarette ads. They could smoke. Did I say they could smoke? Yeah. Okay. They could smoke for so many other reasons. So we should try to come up with better solutions. Right, we should try to come up with better, with more effective solution. Maybe just that. Okay, we should come up with, oh, I just press enter. Doesn't matter, okay? So this is what ChatGPT had to say. It says, I believe the banning cigarette advertisement alone will not significantly impact smoking rates among young people. How does that sound? Sounds pretty good. As they may choose to smoke for various other reasons beyond advertising influence. Therefore, it is essential to develop more comprehensive and effective strategy to address this issue. This is perfect. Right. Okay. So this is what's so cool about the AI this day. You don't really have to steal idea, right? It's not like I'm asking ChatGPT to generate response for my question. I have my own answer, my idea. I can just use ChatGPT to make it sound more academic or to fix any grammatical errors that are present in my English. Okay, but what I'm going to do next is I'm going to copy. In fact, yeah, I'm just going to copy, and I will try to use my grammatical knowledge to paraphrase that a little bit. Okay, just in case the lecturer sort of have a tool to check how much is your content developed by AI. Okay, so I'm going to try to like paraphrase this. Okay, so instead of using I believe that, okay, their advertisement alone will not significantly impact smoking rates. Okay, I would just say it is my personal contention. Okay. So contention is just another word for idea. It's my personal viewpoint. Okay. It's my personal, you can also say it's my personal viewpoint. It's my personal contention that and I can use passive active voice to paraphrase this a little bit, that smoking rates among young people, I can also use young people or adolescents. Okay, smoking rates among adolescents. Okay, and it says it will not significantly impact, right? The ChatGPT using active voice, I can just turn that into passive voice. So it says will not be significantly impact. Okay. Then I will just use a prepositional phrase simply by banning cigarette advertisements alone. Okay, and then as they may choose to smoke for various other reasons, then I can paraphrase that to as there are various other reasons. Why they choose to smoke. Okay. Beyond advertising influence. Oops. Okay. Therefore, it is essential to develop more comprehensive and effective strategy to address this issue. then I can just use for this reason instead of therefore. For this reason. And then I can say it is important. Okay. To develop, I can just stick to effective strategy. More effective strategy to address this issue. Okay. So there we go. That's my main idea. All right. But I'm not going to write an essay just yet, but this is just going to be a part of my introduction. Okay. Just one part. Now, next is quite crucial, is how you're going to is what you have to choose to be your major supporting ideas. Okay, so when I look at all my list here, okay, for objection, I have many things to talk about, right? Like the first question, right? If we want to say, why is cigarette advertising not the cause of nicotine addiction? I can just develop a paragraph that explain why cigarette is not really that it's not that big of a deal. Okay. But when I look at the next question that asks, what are the actual causes? I can develop another paragraph that simply focus on causes of addiction. And that could be my major supporting idea. Okay, next is, when I look at the third question, why is the proposed solution not a good idea, right? I can dedicate another paragraph, right? Another major supporting idea to talk about why banning cigarette advertising is not a good solution. Okay, and for the last questions, what are the better solutions? Okay, so the major supporting idea here would be, more effective strategy or more effective solution. Okay, right. Next, you have to sort of ask yourself, which major support should come first. Okay, so for each question, you will have one major support. How many questions do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So for 4 questions, 4 major support. Okay, what do you think should be the first major supporting ideas? Should we first talk about solutions and then causes? That's not a very logical order, is it? Because before we can have solution, we must know the causes. So, so it would sound more logical to start off with the actual causes of the addiction, right? And then perhaps followed by better solutions. Okay, so that's one way to outline. Okay, the other way to outline is to include the statement about why cigarette advertising is not really the problem here. Okay, so I'm gonna use a simple techniques here. I'll just going to use the other actual causes as my main idea. So it's going to be for major supporting, right? Actual causes of nicotine addiction. Okay, and this is my major. Okay. Okay, now what are going to be my minor supports? If I go back to my questions, okay, and I say some things like, what? Actual cause of addiction includes personal issue, misconception, and peer pressure. So, what else? Lack of regulation, lack of monitoring, and punishment. Okay, so I'm just gonna pick the best three. Okay, so maybe for desire, for the first minor, that's going to be peer pressure. Okay, that will be my first minor. Okay, and it's going to have its own support, which I have yet to think about. You need to explain it. Okay, my next minor is going to be I don't know, lack of regulation. Okay, so you have to control it. That will be my next minor. Control how the cigarette can be sold. Okay, now once you control it, you expect that, young people will not be able to gain access to cigarettes anymore. But if they do, right, that means they must have broken the rules, right? Or someone may have broken the rules. Maybe the shop decided to sell cigarettes to young people, and they should be punished for that. Okay, so, or young people might have stolen cigarette from somewhere to smoke. Right? So someone has to be punished. So the next cause is lack of enforcement. Okay. Once you have regulation, you need to have enforcement. So regulation is just saying what you should and what you should not do. Enforcement is, making sure that people do what they are told to do. Okay. So how do you make sure of that? You have to punish them. So lack of enforcement is a minor. Okay. So that is my first major support, right? All of this, when we study chapter 3, will be turned into a body paragraph. Okay. My next major support will be about solutions, right? So I would say more effective solutions. That would be my major. Okay. My minor, what do I have? Excuse me. Parental guidance, education, and age restriction. So parental. Parental guidance, that's minor. Education, age restriction. Age restriction. Okay. So that's it. that's all about outlining. Okay, so outlining is breaking your supports down into manageable portion. Okay, like this, for example. I mean, I could have written everything in one paragraph. Like I could have a big body paragraph that talks about cost and solutions, but I think it's going to be easier for the reader to follow if I break it down into different sections. Okay, so one section for causes, other sections for um, solutions. Okay, so now when we do outlining, we'll be able to see which ideas is promising, which idea is not promising. Now, promising means it has future. It can be further developed, right? It's not like the dead end. Okay, because if you look at, for example, peer pressure here, I say peer pressure is a minor supporting idea, which means it is there to make the major supporting idea more clear, right? But peer pressure by itself is not clear yet because it has to be explained. So you have to think about your explanation for peer pressure, how you will explain it. Okay, so for that matter, you can use ChatGPT, to give you some idea, or you can come up with your idea and then ask ChatGPT if it agrees with you. Okay, or it has different advice, if it has different opinion than you. Okay, that's how you use ChatGPT as your study partner. Okay, so what I can do here, I can say some things like, peer pressure could be a reason why young people start adopting smoking habits, because young people are known to want to do anything to be accepted by their peer groups. So if the peer group smoke, then the adolescents will have no choice but to adopt the same habit so that they'll be accepted, right? Okay, so this is my explanation, and I can copy this and paste in ChatGPT, and then ask if it agrees with me, right? If it agrees with me, if it really thinks that peer pressure could be, reasons for smoking. In fact, let's try it right now. Let's see what ChatGPT has to say. Okay. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT, do you think, I'm going to say some things like, to what extent do you think that peer pressure, all right, is a contributing factor of nicotine addiction? Okay. So let's hear what ChatGPT has to say. I'm basically asking for the AI's opinion here. So it's sort of agreed. They say peer pressure is a significant factor to nicotine addiction, especially among adolescents. The desire to fit in, yes, gain social acceptance, or emulate admired peers can lead individuals to experiment with nicotine products. So basically the same idea, right? Because I said, young people smoke. Why? Because they want to gain acceptance. Okay. ChatGPT just add another very interesting phrase here: emulate admired peers. Okay. Emulate is similar to copy, right? Like if someone in your class is so smart and he's happened to be a smoker, so you think that by smoking you will emulate that smart friends of yours who smoke. Okay. This social influence can reinforce the initial use, increasing the likelihood of regular consumption and eventual addiction. Okay, so that influence, like young people start smoking not because they want to become addicted, but they want to get acceptance or emulate or to be like someone who they admire. Okay, but the first test of nicotine, right, will lead to the likelihood of regular consumption, right? So one puff will lead to more puff, okay? And more puff will lead to addiction in the end. Okay, right, so that sounds good. So that means, this idea is like valid. Okay, and you can sort of try to come up with your explanation for the rest of your other minor supporting ideas. Okay, so for example, if I cannot think of any support for lack of regulation, and even after I ask ChatGPT and it sort of gives me something that is totally irrelevant, then I can just cross this off, right? Cross this off. So that will save your time from trying to explain something that cannot be explained. Okay, so that's usefulness of outlining. Okay, it allows you to like see what your essay will look like before you write it. Okay, which allows you to cross off ideas that cannot be further elaborated or cannot be extended. Okay, it will also help you to see which ideas are more significant, are more important than the other. Okay, which will allow you to like reorganize your ideas. Now, some people want to move their very important ideas to the end. Why? Because they can use transitional word like on top of everything. Okay, with the last and most significant idea. Okay, and also people tend to remember the last thing that is delivered to them like better than the first things. Okay, right. Okay, so that is all for today, fortunately. Okay, I hope you guys learned something, and if you guys have any suggestion, if you think I should pick up my pace, I'm a little bit too slow, or I beat around the bush too much, I go off track. I know I have the tendency to go off track and then come back. So some of you might be lost along the way. Okay, so if that's the case, please let me know. I'm more than willing to, be the kind of, teacher that you want me to be. Okay, so that is all for today. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'll see you guys next time.